So wanted to say hello to everybody and welcome to the Breakout Room. This is our first in a series of conversations with local leaders about local issues that are important to our communities. We'll cover a range of topics and there'll be something for everyone. So be sure to subscribe to our channel for future updates and conversations. I'm Kevin Wilk, I'm current council member in Walnut Creek, and I was mayor last year in 2021. My co-host in the Breakout Room is Sabina Zafar. Sabina?
Hello, and everybody, welcome to the Breakout Room. So excited to host this with council member now, Kevin Wilk, and welcoming our guests today to the show. This is going to be a series of hopefully something we're going to get started about our local issues, talking to our local leaders here. And with that, do you want to, I want to pass the mic over to Matt.
Okay. Great. Well, thanks for having me, and what a great concept. I really appreciate you bringing me into the conversation. Matt Rinn, current Pleasant Hill City Council member for the last 6 years. I was mayor in 2020 for the city of Pleasant Hill as well. I just wanted to thank you both for hosting this.
Terrific. Welcome, Matt. And I think Melissa may be in the waiting room, Sabina, if you want to just quickly check, and we'll bring her in.
There we go.
Terrific. Hi, Melissa, mayor in Dublin. And
all right, we'll give it a minute.
There you go. Terrific. Hello there. And thank you for joining. You want to give a little intro about yourself?
Hi, everyone. Yes, it's great to be here this afternoon. I am Melissa Hernandez, the Dublin mayor of this wonderful city. You see a background. I'm sorry I don't have the breakout room behind me, but you have some beautiful flowers and some beautiful green hills. But thank you so much for having me this afternoon. And also Matt from Pleasant Hill.
Great. Well, absolutely. So thank you both. So we have a few questions for you. The first is that we know that emerging from the pandemic, our cities are facing big challenges. So the first question for our guests is, what's the biggest challenge facing your city? So Matt, let's start with you in Pleasant Hill.
Yeah, I think the challenges we're facing as we come out is getting businesses rolling again. Is people out shopping. We're starting to host community events, and I'm starting to see people come out again. And I think the big challenge is really
Is Matt breaking off?
Well, Matt, you're breaking up a little bit here.
businesses, restaurants, and things of a nature. We got a gift card program. Yeah. Oops. Okay. So anyways, we got a gift card program coming up. And so that should be pretty exciting to get people to shop locally here in Pleasant Hill to help stimulate the economy here.
That's great. That's great. I think we got most of that, Matt. Sounds
I'm
like
sorry about that.
Stimulating the economy, absolutely. It's one of the challenges for all of us. So, Melissa, how are things in Dublin? What do you look at as the biggest challenge there?
I'd have to say, honestly, Dublin is doing great. We came into the pandemic, and I know a lot of cities aren't able to do this, but we actually came into a surplus in our budget. So being able to utilize some of that funding, but also utilizing some of the ARPA funding, but prior to that funding, with regards to being able to give grants to our local businesses. And so that was one of the items that from some of our surplus money that we initially came in with, is trying to be able to just kind of keep those COVID businesses alive. And a lot of our local restaurants, our local mom and pop shops, the ones that really were affected tremendously. But as we recover, we have been, honestly, from day one, have been supporting all of our businesses throughout the city of Dublin, not only with rental assistance, with being able to have assistance and pivoting to be able to do outdoor dining. Some of our restaurants were not equipped for that. So we were able to help them that. We're still doing that. We've actually created a plan where we can help businesses that want to transition and keeping the outdoor dining up and going, so that we've been able to do that. And I think that honestly really helps our small businesses through very challenging times. And you'll see that more people want to eat outside, even during the pandemic, or, as we start approaching light at the end of the tunnel, people want to be outside and they want to be able to feel comfortable at the local places here in our city of Dublin.
That's fantastic. You've done a great job in Dublin, and we're seeing that in Walnut Creek too. People love eating outside, whether it's in Pleasant Hill, we're seeing it in San Ramon, we're seeing it really all over, and that's terrific to hear what you're doing there.
Well, thank you for that. And so my next question is about housing, and we all have housing needs and residential development needs. So how are you guys handling that? Melissa, why don't you take that first?
Sure. And this is something that all of our cities face, right? With regards to having growth in our cities. And I know either people are for growth or people are against growth. People are for housing, people are against housing, but it's something that we as mayors and council members still have to face, right? We still have to make those difficult decisions. We still have to be able to say, we have to make those, whether opportunities for housing to come into our cities. And as you've seen in Dublin, we've grown by about 44% the last 10 years. Our census really showed it, that we just had those increasing numbers. But with that, you also live in California, and we're the state that gets the RHNA numbers allocated to us, right? So it's just being able to focus our efforts around, where you need the higher density, which is the transit systems, transit oriented areas, to be able to just balance that, job and housing balance. And so we've already started our plan with regarding to where we're going to be zoning the RHNA numbers and what we look forward in the future. But we're almost at build out as well. We're a city, Sabina, San Ramon became a city about the same time we did. We were unincorporated for many years and we were run by our counties. You're in Contra Costa County, I'm in Alameda County. But to be able to manage the growth, because a lot of people don't want to see growth because it adds impacts into our cities. So it's just, how can you manage it so that that you have that balance and keep that balance going.
Matt?
Yeah, we're faced with the similar issues. We're pretty much built out as far as any open spaces, so we have to have responsible growth. We're currently going through our general plan amendment. We have a website, Pleasant Hill 2040. We've had several town halls and community meetings to get input from all of our stakeholders. But it's a fine balance. I think that for cities, for us, and some of you are facing, is the home to work balance. We have, a lot of us are predominantly, suburban communities, and a lot of people commute in the Bay Area, into whether Oakland or San Francisco or San Jose. If we can get more of those jobs locally in our area, I think that'll benefit a lot of different aspects, challenges that we're facing, and it's just quality of life. Now that, with the pandemic, people working from home, people are adding on an office space or things to their houses, and or revitalizing, reutilizing those spaces. I know the state, we've all looked at, the ADUs or the granny units, their in-law units in the back is kind of some of the other nicknames that are used. And so we're trying to figure out how to, utilize those. We have some pretty good lot sizes where we can have some growth there, but that's not a one size fits all thing. So I'd be interested to hear your guys' perspective. What kind of things are you working on?
Yeah, I mean, from our end, we're doing the same thing, going through our general planning, if you will, and trying to prioritize and see how do we balance. Right now, it's housing, it's jobs, it's retail, it's open space. All of those need to exist in our cities. And we want to make sure that we make room for our younger generation as well, right? Having been very much a bedroom community, we just didn't have as much housing for young adults and young workers. And we're seeing the trend, right? After the pandemic, this whole working from home trend is real. I mean, people are trying to get, companies are trying to get people to come back in. So that means people need homes to live in as well, and spaces. So, but when they live there, they're going to shop there. So how do we make sure that we have the right retail, which matches as well, that we don't just build out so much that then we don't have jobs and space for jobs in retail. So that's kind of, what we're looking at as we're, doing our general plan as well as a climate action plan as we're thinking about the future. Kevin, what about you?
Yeah, same thing. I think we're dealing with a lot of the same challenges here. Walnut Creek is this area that we got a lot of people that are also driving through Walnut Creek, especially down Ignacio Valley Road from outlying county cities that are coming through 680 as well. And so we want to make sure that people can live close to where their commutes may be, and that means public transportation. So a lot of our development, even though we don't have any other places to build other than infill, are typically downtown where people can walk to BART, they can take the public transportation, the free shuttle, and it really does help with that jobs housing imbalance. We do have the same kind of RENA number challenges that everybody else has also, and ADUs may help with some of that in terms of additional units, but as we've all seen as well, ADUs are great when people have the space and can afford to build one. It's not always the case that it's that easy. Just because it's more possible and the state allows it and the cities have less restrictions in preventing it, doesn't mean that everybody can do it. So it's constantly making sure that we've got development needs for the communities, but also the jobs that people don't have to commute a half an hour, or 2 hours to get to some of them. So it is challenges.
Mhm.
Thanks for all of that from everybody. So our next question has to do with crime. We took a survey in Walnut Creek a couple of months ago, and we wanted to get an idea of what was of the biggest priorities that our residents were experiencing. The top 3 responses were crime related. It was public safety, 911 responses, and crime prevention. So with that as a prelude, and we're certainly all familiar with this to some extent, we all remember Walnut Creek's Nordstrom's video from last year, which experienced a large retail organized theft. What are you doing in your cities to deter crime, especially as it relates to some of the retail organized theft that we've seen in some cities? So let's start with Councilmember Matt Rinn at this time.
All right, I get to go first on this one. This is a tough issue. I mean, we're always trying to re-envision modern day policing too. I know a few years back where we've had, confronting a lot of issues where we had George Floyd, and really how we've kind of overhauled and looked at our police force in general and how we respond to calls, what kind of calls we respond. Kudos to the county and Walnut Creek for kind of taking the lead on, when there's a mental health crisis going on. I know you guys have had a lot of discussions and kind of been on the forefront of this, of pushing through some stuff through the county, and we appreciate you guys for kind of taking the lead on that. And so we're really excited about that program because obviously that's a concern of a lot of our citizens of, we do have a homelessness, and we may touch on the basis on their unhoused population. And a lot of those calls are around some mental health issues, people experiencing a crisis. And how do we better utilize our police force to respond more to retail or property crimes, auto thefts. I think we've all been affected by catalytic converter thefts in our cities. We've been last year where our crime statistics has actually gone down, despite what, social media and Nextdoor and some of those other apps, everything's pretty hyper. Something happens and people think crime's going through the roof. But if you look at the actual statistics, that I think a lot of cities are faring better than what you see in real time. I think people are just more aware about as things going on, but it's definitely a collaborative effort. I know Kevin and I, being on the kind of the north side of the county, our police chiefs meet quite regularly with the city managers and collaborate and do monthly meetings on what we can do, because a lot flows between our cities, and Martinez too is kind of pulled in there too. So we kind of collaborate on best practices that we can share, and I think that really helps more of a micro regional approach for us. So
Great, thanks, Matt. Melissa, how are things in Dublin for that?
Let's be honest here. When you told me about the survey, those are the results I kind of assumed. Our residents want to feel that they live in a safe community, and that's our job as elected leaders to make sure that they do live in a safe community. And so some of the items that we've taken into place is doing a really robust crime prevention program here in Dublin. And so we've kind of always done that. We like to be proactive versus, reactive. And I know with crime, sometimes you don't know when it's going to hit or what's going to happen, right? So I know that our police officers, they meet locally with business owners. We've even had some like a town hall with residents when we did see some spiking in some crime events here off the, in the city of Dublin off of 580. And so having those conversations with the business owners and discussing with them, our police officers are giving them hints on what they can do, how they can change things, can you get cameras, to being able to don't put yourself out there as a business or as a resident, right? So preventing those situations to begin with. And so you don't want to be a targeted victim. We also run an undercover operations in many parking lots, especially during, holiday season. And that's something we've been doing for so many years. And so we target those locations. And then in the height of the looting, a couple of years ago, we took an extraordinary step and we closed access to our town. We literally shut down the freeways. And because, Dublin sits in crossroads between 680 and 580. And so we were a little aggressive that, but I think, the bad players understood what we were doing. And so, our police officers were noticing what was happening. And so they literally, we cut off the exits coming into our town just so we could protect our residents here in the city of Dublin.
Yeah, that's definitely an aggressive approach. And we saw that in other cities. And there's a lot of communication between all the cities down the 680 corridor. So we did the same things during the looting events where we would then cut off access to the city from some of those freeways until the event ended and we felt it was safe enough again. Interesting. I didn't realize that Dublin did that as well. Yeah, you're at 680 and 580.
So we're in the crosswinds. We're getting that, from San Ramon to Pleasanton, Pleasant to San Ramon, Livermore to Castro Valley, and vice versa. So we're really located in an area where we see a lot of people coming and going.
That's good. That's good to know, and appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah. So hopefully the last question I want to ask is about homelessness, and what are you guys seeing in your cities, and if you're seeing a rise, if you're managing it in some way. Matt, do you want to start with that?
Sure, why not? I'm on a roll here, so let's keep it rolling. No, just kidding. Like I mentioned earlier, the collaboration, with the county, there's a core program where we partner with a core team with Martinez. We see predominantly a lot of our unhoused population going between Martinez and Pleasant Hill, and then also collaborating with Walnut Creek. It's kind of up and down our corridor here. And I think that by getting people, the core team and the services to help try to get them help in the facilities and, just getting into the programs that they need to help them, I think is a huge step. And then also too, I think with the economy, I know we've had some of the rent moratoriums and things going on, but as those start to unwind, unfortunately, I think we're going to see a bigger uptick once these evictions start taking place coming up here. So it's going to be a huge challenge. We're trying to, work on our effective communications with all the charities and nonprofits in the area, and keep that collaborative so we have a safety net for the people if we do get that increase there. I don't know, Kev, what do you do? I know you've got some facilities that, Trinity Center and things like that have kind of been at the forefront of that.
I've been saying for a while that it's the rising tide that raises all ships on this. We all have to work together collaboratively. We're doing that through Walnut Creek, Pleasant Hill, Concord, and utilizing the core services at Martinez. So it really is a collaborative effort, and Pleasant Hill's a good partner in that too. And so let's hear from Melissa in Dublin, which I'm not even ever heard.
So Dublin, we have more of a transient problem versus a homeless problem. We have probably about 5 to 7 homeless individuals that are in our city. And so some of it is caused from, being the last stop, at BART. But where we also see more issues is we have a jail in our city, right? We have Santa Rita jail. And so within our region and in that area, and the jail was here before, the city actually started becoming incorporated back in 1982. And so how we more or less also assist in homeless is more at the regional level, right? To our surrounding cities, even a collaboration through the county. So we give a lot of our HAP funding to the city of Livermore. And so we've worked with them. We are very good about making sure that we give funding to City of Livermore, the nonprofit organizations that help and assist in homelessness. And as you know, maybe Supervisor Haggerty, prior to him leaving, and we have a very good relationship with him before he retired. And now the new supervisor, we really work with the county to be able to assist in funding. And so what Supervisor Haggerty did was build tiny homes at Goodness Village. It's called Goodness Village. It is it's located at Crosswinds Church, and you may see it. It's right off of 580, and they've done a really nice job to be able to try to eliminate some of that homeless. But honestly, you can put roofs over people's heads, but it's making sure you have the mental health, the wraparound services that are going to keep those individuals from going back to being homeless. And so, for Dublin, it's more of how can we help our surrounding cities? How can we be an advocate to try to get these the people housed and to be able to give them the services that they need?
Terrific. It is a challenge. Thank you all for the work that you're doing in that. And I know that the community appreciates it. Certainly the homeless appreciate it as well. So when people ask me, what's your solution? I go, it's working to mitigate the problems, but I don't think any of us have an actual solution for ending homelessness. So it's working with them and recognizing that there is a challenge, and it's not illegal to be homeless either. So
can I add to that really quick? Because I wanted to, I know, I'm not sure if Contra Costa is doing this, but I know Alameda County has created a program, and they're working with all the mayors, all the 14 mayors, and also in partnership with the County Board of Supervisors to be able to eliminate homeless. Alameda County has 1.8 million homeless people. And so if we just sit back and really say we can't do anything, we really have to do something. We are trying to approach that. We are working together to build kind of an infrastructure and to be able to put that to work, and to be able to get funding to be able to put that to work. So we're in collaborating with Everyone Home. And so again, we're involved. I'm involved as a Dublin mayor, but it's also the 14 mayors have gotten together with the Alameda County Board of Supervisors and the Alameda County staff and done to be able to create and just alleviate some of the homelessness in here in Alameda County.
That's fantastic, Melissa. So glad to hear that. It's a work in progress with Contra Costa, so more on that to come, but that's just great to hear. So it's hard to imagine that we are already at our 20 minutes, just even a little past it. So I'm going to put this out there quickly. 30 seconds, each of you, almost a speed round here. Is there anything else you'd like people to know about what's happening in your city? So Melissa, we're going to give you the first word on this, 30 seconds, then we'll go to Matt.
So very quickly, one thing that I'm super excited about is regards to traffic. Traffic is such a huge, it's in all of our cities. We live in California again, but we're trying to work on all of our single nights. We have the smart meters in certain areas, but we really want to get everything on key and create it throughout the entire city of Dublin so that we're more efficient, trying to get people flowing in those areas. So that's something that I'm really proud of. And I could talk about it more, but I know that we're running out of time. So Matt.
No worries. I'm curious. I'll pick your brain later on. That's some good information. Pleasant Hill, we're very excited. We're going to have a brand new library coming on board here. Grand opening is set for July 9th. So that was a great project we needed as a city. I know a lot of things are transitioning digitally, but a modern library is the lifeblood of a community. And it's one of the ways that we've really tried to help bring our community back together. We were able to do this during the COVID times and the shutdown. So we're really excited to have this new library and really bring the community back together again.
Terrific.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody. Like Kevin said, this went by really fast. And thank you for being our very first guest at the Breakout Room. We're really excited to launch the series. One, because, we have all these conversations all the time, and to be able to bring them to our, to our residents and everybody who's watching. Thank you so much for joining us today. We do have the Facebook page called Breakout Room. Like it, join it. We'll continue to broadcast these on a monthly basis, and look out for our May guests that we're going to bring to the Breakout Room. Kevin, anything you want to add to that?
No, terrific. Thanks for joining. We look forward to seeing everybody next month with 2 new guests. Thank you so much, Melissa and Matt.
I
Bye,
will-
everyone.
Thanks for
so much.
having us.
Bye. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.